It wouldn't be a Nissan without Christmas lights. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. As you guys can tell, we're taking off right where I left the last video on this black 350Z. Now, in today's video, I'm hoping that I can fix this electrical issue that this vehicle has. It does run pretty poorly, and I can't drive it like this because I'm gonna end up blowing up the engine. It is misfiring pretty bad. It's running way too rich. I can smell lots of fuel coming out of the exhaust pipe, and I know for a fact it has something to do with the engine wiring harness. So let me show you guys what check engine codes I'm getting on this vehicle so that you guys can kind of understand what my next plan is, or my next steps are going to be to diagnose and fix this vehicle. So as you guys can tell, I have a Christmas tree on the gauge cluster. That's never a good thing. There is multiple things wrong with this car, and it is running very poorly. So I drove the vehicle back to my house, and before I start working on this vehicle, I kind of need to do some digging up. I know that the previous owner told me that this vehicle has an electrical issue and that somebody already went ahead and replaced the engine because they thought it was a bad engine. So obviously it was not the engine because it's still doing the same thing, right? So then they decided to change the ECUs out. So I have two ECUs there. It was also not that. So I'm gonna take things in a different direction. I'm gonna just first check for codes to see what we have. So I'll do a quick scan here on my blue driver and see what we come up with. 12 codes. So you guys can see that we have closed loop bank 1, closed loop bank 2, multiple misfire. I can definitely feel the misfire. The car is just shaking. ECM code, I think this is because I changed the battery. That should go away. I'm not too concerned about that. And bank 1 sensor 1 and bank 2 sensor 1, O2 sensors. So what I'll do here next is I'm just going to clear the code and see if we have a hard check engine code, meaning no matter what, if I clean it and clear the code, it's going to come back right away. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I cleared it. Let's scan it again, and the check engine light popped up right again. So nothing changed, right? So that is a good way to kind of rule out if you have a bad O2 sensor, or if you might have like a short or something. If we had a bad primary O2 sensor, the code wouldn't have came back right away. It would have came back later on, like maybe after 40 or 50 miles that you drive it. But we know for a fact that there is something serious going on with this O2 sensors. What I'll do next is I'm gonna just check for fuses, and I'm gonna go ahead and see if I find any blown fuses. Now, I did already do that. I checked fuse number, I think 84 or 85 on the IPDM, which is over here. That controls power to the O2 sensors, the primary upstream O2 sensors. So that 15 amp fuse is not blown. So that means the connection up to that is probably okay. But that doesn't mean that there's not like a short somewhere in between those two circuits. So that's the next thing that I'm gonna look for. So what we need to do next is we need to do a voltage test on the O2 sensors. They should be receiving battery voltage. I believe it's pin 4. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna back probe the O2 sensors, and I'm gonna see if I get battery voltage. So I found the upstream O2 sensor connector. This is the actual engine bay harness, and I'm gonna do a battery voltage on pin 4, which is on the bottom left. But before I do that, I kind of saw something that was a little bit more concerning. And if you guys look over here at this injector, it's not connected. That guy is off, and it just might be as simple as that, but I doubt it. I think that might get rid of the misfire, but I think we're still gonna have issues with the upstream O2 sensors, and I'll tell you guys why in a second. I swear to you guys, I can't make this up. How is it possible that this is not connected? All right, let's see if that changes anything. And the door that rolls down on its own. It seems like it's running worse. starting to backfire now. It didn't really make much of a difference, which is surprising because, I mean, the injector was not plugged in at all. Let me check for codes. Still have the same codes. So yeah, that didn't really fix the problem. I think the root cause of the issue is those primary upstream O2 sensors. So let's go back to testing them. And to test the battery voltage, we need to have the key in the on position. So I'll leave that like that for now. So I know it's very hard to see, but you guys are gonna trust me on this, right? When I was looking for the pigtail for the O2 sensor connector, I noticed that there was a black cable sticking out of the harness, and it looked like it had been cut. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull that harness out. But in order for me to pull it out good and take a look at it and inspect everything, I'm gonna probably take off this upper manifold so that I can get to the coil pack connections, so that I can pretty much have the wiring harness out and free. I'm gonna do that. I don't think it's necessary to do it, but I'm gonna do it just so that you guys can see what I'm seeing and demonstrate how I go about fixing this issue. Alright, so as you can see, I kind of tore everything apart. I took the intake manifold off so that I can have more slack in this wiring harness. I did pull back some layers, and I did find a cable that is broken. It's hard to see, but it's down there. What I want to do is I want to take the whole engine harness out. So I'm going to go underneath, check up the vehicle, and disconnect the harness that goes to the transmission so that I can pull it out and have it here so that we can see what is going on. Alright guys, so as you can see, I took the complete wiring harness out, and this is what I was looking at when I saw that there was a cable that was not connected. You guys can see here that this guy is not connected to anything, and I couldn't find the other end. So I'm thinking these guys came together like this, and somehow maybe when the engine was installed, this was pulled and it separated from the connector right there. So what I'll do is I'll just put these guys back together. I'm probably gonna just put this guy like right here and solder that guy back on, and then probably put some solder right here so that this doesn't break. And then I'm gonna look through all the cables here and check to see if there's anything else that could explain these codes that we're getting. So what I'm doing here is just wrapping up the wiring harness with this tape that I got from Amazon. It's working out pretty good. It's not like electrical tape, it's like a cloth fiber, and it's holding everything nice and tight, which I like, as you can see here. So I'm gonna just continue to wrap all the cables that are loose. Alright, so I'm in the middle of putting everything back together, and I came across a connection right here that was just not sitting right, and I was like, what's going on? Why is the coil pack so close to the camshaft sensors right there? And I figured, you know, that's not normal. And I looked at the coil packs and I'm like, those are not HR coil packs. So then I look at the coil packs, right? This is what a VHR HR coil pack is supposed to look like. They normally do have V's if they're OEM. This is the coil pack that was in there. This is a DE coil pack. I can tell for a fact because the way that this is set up like this. You see how the connector plug is to the side, and on the VHR or HRs they look like this. This is a problem because when I try to put this guy into the hole where it needs to go, you guys can see that if I were to bolt it down right there, it wouldn't actually connect. Now this wouldn't really be a problem. I'm pretty sure it should be fine, but I know that the length of the boots on these coil packs are different as well. So this is the comparison here. The VHR is a tad bit taller than the DE. I know it doesn't look like that right now, but if you compare them, This guy is a little bit taller because of the way that it mounts. So this is how it will mount. You see how it's a little bit longer, and that should cause issues because if it's not making contact with the spark plug, then it won't ignite. So little by little, I'm figuring out that whoever put this engine in here or whoever worked on this car had no idea what they were doing, because there is just a lot of things wrong. So maybe by changing out these coil packs will fix the issue as well. So we'll try it out right now. So I finished putting the vehicle back together and it just started pouring out here. I'm gonna just try to see if I can turn it on and see if it sounds any better. If it does not, we're gonna pick this guy up another day when it's dry. All right, moment of truth. I'll tell you what, it sounds a lot better. Oh snaps, did I fix it? Oh, no way. No freaking way. It's idling pretty bad, but I'm pretty sure it's because, you know, they hadn't been running good for a while. Oh snaps. I'm gonna let this kind of run and see how it turns out, but I mean, it's revving by itself. I can just tell that it's not misfiring anymore. I'll be honest, I think those, you know, coil packs weren't installed correctly and the connections to those coil packs were all messed up. I'm telling you, whoever put that engine in this vehicle did not know what they were doing. I think they just half-assed put everything where they thought it went. Right now it seems to be idling pretty good. Oh yeah, I gotta look at those codes. Maybe I can clear them. I wasn't able to show you guys the codes on this next clip just because I was recording with my phone and that's what I used to scan for the codes. But the ECU code that it did have went away, so I'm assuming that cable that was cut was for the ECU, so that should have fixed that problem. But we still have upstream O2 sensor codes. So it's the next day. I did a few things off camera that I wanted to show you. I think we're very close to fixing this car. I was messing around with the O2 sensors because I just had a funny feeling that these O2 sensors were not the ones that were supposed to be in this engine. This is a 2007 350Z with the HR engine. 2007 HRs have a different O2 sensor than 2008 and up. This engine, I don't know where it came from, but I think it's an 08 and up. Now you guys might be saying, well, that's not a big deal, right? Because the O2 sensor should be compatible because it's still a 350Z. However, they are not. Right here, I have a O2 sensor from a 2007 350Z or the G35 HRs from 07 as well. And you guys can see here, we have a black cover here on the O2 sensor. And then this connector looks like it has 3 little prongs right there. Now 08 and up, they have a different style O2 sensor. It looks a little different on the bottom, as you can see. It has a different design than this earlier model. I don't think that will be an issue, but the issue is this. This connector is totally different, and if you try to connect this connector with your 07 350Z, it won't fit because the design of this plug is not the same. Technically, you can make this work by cutting out these little tabs on the corner on both sides and these 2 long ones right here. Once you do that, this sensor should work. Long story short, what I did was I basically cut the little tabs on the connector because we have 08 and up O2 sensors and they don't fit properly on the 07. What was going on is they were jammed in there, but they were backwards. The connections were backwards. So I was doing a lot of research, and that's how I found out, you know, there was something going on there. So what I ended up doing last night is I messed around with this O2 sensor and I got one of the O2 sensor codes to go away. This one I couldn't get to go away because I think the O2 sensor is bad itself. So what I'll do is swap out the O2 sensor with the one that it needs to have and see if it fixes the issue. I kid you not, the O2 sensor was not even tight at all. I didn't even have to use my socket to remove the O2 sensor. I'll show you guys here. I can just unscrew it by hand. So I mean, technically that might cause issues too. So this is the O2 sensor that we took out. This looks like the 08 and up O2 sensors. What's interesting is it rattles. So something is loose, so likely it's broken. So this is what I mean. There's only 3 grooves on this plug. This is an 07. If it was an 08, it would have 2 grooves here in the bottom, and these would be offset, one right here and one up here. But as you guys can see, this is different. So fingers crossed, this works. So I have the O2 sensor installed. I'm gonna just turn it on for a quick second and make sure that the codes don't come back. All right, moment of truth. Will this fix the car? Our Christmas lights didn't come back. I think it's fixed, guys. My camera died, but I was able to clear the code and it hasn't came back. We don't have any codes except a ABS code, which has something to do with the brake fluid, I think. I'm gonna have to look further into that. But all the check engine light codes went away and it hasn't came back. Car's running better than ever. We're overheating though. Alright guys, so I just kind of wanted to give you an update. It's been about maybe 2 to 3 weeks since I fixed this 350Z, and it has been running and driving great. There has been some little things that I've had to go back and fix, like it started overheating on me, so I had to flush the coolant, change the thermostat, and it's been fine ever since. I also need to change the ABS module because I do have codes for the ABS module / pump, so that I will probably do off camera. Aside from that, the vehicle is running and driving great, so I am gonna keep it for some time now. If you guys did find this video entertaining, don't forget to give the video a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys all on the next one.